We all know that Karoline Leavitt is terrible at her job, which is so weird because her job is to lie on behalf of Donald Trump, and that's all that she ever does. She just can't seem to do it well. So with a government shutdown officially underway and Donald Trump scrambling to shift blame, Karoline Leavitt needed a little bit of help. So she called in J.D. Vance, of all people, the most smug person in this government, to lie, attack reporters, and then melt down after he was confronted by a Fox reporter. We are going to get into the disaster that was Karoline Leavitt and J.D. Vance's performance today. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the question that really made J.D. Vance melt down, and Karoline Leavitt as well, I want to start with one in which J.D. disagreed with the dear leader, essentially calling him a liar.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for being here. Yesterday, President Trump said, as a result of the shutdown, we'll be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very effective, and the Democrats, they are going to be Democrats. Has the administration asked agencies to target federal workers who they believe to be Democrats in these reductions of forces?
We're not targeting federal agencies based on politics. We're targeting the people's government so that as much as possible of the essential services can continue to function. That is the question the president has asked the entire government, is fundamentally, okay, we're in a shutdown. That causes some problems. The troops aren't getting paid. There's nothing that we can do about that while the government is shut down. But there are essential services that we want to make sure as much as possible they still continue to function. That is the principle that's driving us forward during this shutdown. It's going to continue to be the principle that drives us forward. But let's be honest. If this thing drags on for another few days or, God forbid, another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off. We're going to have to save money in some places so the essential services don't get turned off in other places. That is the reality of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have foisted upon the administration.
So what did you mean by they're going to be Democrats? He said they're going to be Democrats.
You've laid out a lot.
So we saw Trump yesterday say that the people who would be laid off and the mass firings that he is promising, and it's important to recognize why Donald Trump is promising these mass firings now that we are officially underway in this government shutdown. It was a tool for leverage, saying that if Democrats didn't go along with his plans, didn't give him the budget that he wanted, didn't allow him to cut health care for millions of Americans and raise their premiums, then he would be doing mass firings, purges of the federal workforce, which is what Donald Trump has already done. So please, Chuck Schumer, do not write a strongly worded letter and then ultimately bend the knee because you're worried about Donald Trump threatening to do something that he's already done. But Trump yesterday said that he was only going after Democrats in the federal workforce, which doesn't make any sense, and I don't really know exactly how they'd figure that out. But JD is now backtracking on that. One, because it's politically unpopular and fucking stupid. And two, because what? What does that even mean? But Vance is disagreeing with the dear leader, so he's probably going to get an earful from either real Trump or the fake Trump, who Trump now shares on Truth Social, making his weird AI deepfake post, which Karoline Leavitt was actually asked about.
Two things to ask you about.
Sure.
First thing, I want to ask about this video that the president posted the other day. It was an AI deepfake of himself talking about something called med beds. What was he trying to communicate to the public there, and why did he delete it?
I think the president saw the video and posted it and then took it down. And he has the right to do that. It's his social media. He's incredibly transparent, as you all know. You hear from him directly on social media. He likes to share memes. He likes to share videos. He likes to repost things that he sees other people post on social media as well. And I think it's quite refreshing that we have a president who is so open and honest directly himself. Many a times on Truth, you are hearing directly from the President of the United States.
And second thing.
In the middle of a government shutdown, our president is so brain broken that he is being confused with AI videos of himself. That was so funny. That was the funniest part to me of that clip that Donald Trump shared of Laura Trump on Fox talking about med beds, which are these weird right-wing conspiracy like miracle healers, is that Donald Trump shared a video that he thought was real in which he said things that he didn't say. Like, Donald Trump is so stupid, so out of it, and so in decline that he saw himself speaking in a fake video created by AI and thought, yes, that is me. I do sound like that. So either Donald Trump has lost his brain that much and he's in complete cognitive decline, Or he just also agrees with us and thinks he's stupid and was like, oh, I could totally see myself saying that. But either way, Donald Trump is not focused on anything that actually matters in the middle of this government shutdown, except for trying to put the squeeze on Chuck Schumer by attacking New York to try to get him to fold. J.D. Vance was pressed on that by Peter Doocy, of all people, and it didn't go too well.
The administration announced today that $18 billion bound for New York transportation projects is going to be frozen so it can't go to DEI programs there. But the timing of this, does announcing that today mean that you guys are going to squeeze Chuck Schumer's home state until he blinks?
Look, I haven't talked to Russ about this morning, but look, I'm sure that Russ is heartbroken about the fact that he's unable to give certain things to certain constituencies. We want to do everything that we can to help the American people, but when the Democrats shut down the government, we have to actually do a little triage to make sure the most critical and most essential services are provided. The government does a lot of things. Of course, Republicans think that the federal government probably does too much, but there are a lot of critical things the federal government does that absolutely all of us would agree need to do. Our troops need to get paid. Our air traffic controllers need to make sure that people are flying safely and on time. We need low-income people to be able to access the food services that are provided by the federal government. There are critical things that need to be saved. We're going to do everything that we can over the coming weeks, if the shutdown lasts that long, to ensure that people get the essential services that they need, despite the fact that Chuck Schumer has shut down the federal government. It's not going to be perfect because we are in a government shutdown. We are going to have to lay some people off if the shutdown continues. We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run.
Thank you.
Donald Trump is always trying to use intimidation as the means to get what he wants. But Democrats will not fold in this moment. We cannot. We have to have a backbone. We have to have some clarity. We have to understand that Americans realize that Donald Trump is responsible for this shutdown. And if we cave to him, he is just going to continue to use the same tools of intimidation. It's why Bernie Sanders said he's not backing down. He's fighting back. We can see that right here.
We're looking at more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had. We're looking at a situation where we have a major housing crisis, major educational crisis. People in Vermont are going to the grocery store. They can't afford their food. And we have a healthcare system that is broken. And for the first time in the modern history of this country, where in the Senate you need 60 votes. That means bipartisanship. What the Republicans have said, sorry, we're not going to deal with the opposition. We're going to do it alone. Here it is. You take it or you leave it. I will not take it. And I'll tell you why I will not take it. Just today, there was a report that came out from the Kaiser Family Foundation. This is what they said. 24 million Americans will see more than a doubling in their health care premiums. You know what that means? People in Vermont and around the country cannot afford health care right now.
So they just won't have health care.
They won't have health care. And on top of that, what the Republicans did in Trump's big, beautiful bill is to throw 15 million Americans off of the health insurance they have. Another study came out, University of Pennsylvania, Yale. You know what that is? They say that 50,000 Americans a year will die unnecessarily because they can't get to a doctor. So instead of improving a broken healthcare system, these guys are making it far, far worse. So I cannot sit back and allow a situation where tens of thousands of people in this country will actually die in order for Trump and the Republicans to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. That is insane. It's unacceptable. We cannot allow that to happen.
What's your response to Republicans like House Speaker Mike Johnson and others who say the subsidies don't expire until the end of December? We have time to negotiate on those and we could find some common ground.
Well, for a start, common ground, really. They have had months. And for the first time in modern history, they have not sat down. What has always happened is a majority, he talks about how 13 occasions they worked with the Democrats. It's true, because the Democrats in that case sat down with them. So what you need is a bipartisan solution. What these guys have said, it's my way or the highway. This is the way it's going to be. And that is kind of what Trumpism is about. That's that authoritarian tendency that we're seeing in America right now.
So are you telling me you're willing to vote no every time Leader Thinner
Damn right. I am not going to allow. Let me be clear. All right? You can quote me on this. You can quote me on, as we say in Vermont, till the cows come home. I will not let tens of thousands of fellow Americans die because they're thrown off of health care. In my state, people cannot afford a doubling in the health care premiums. We are already paying the highest prices in the country for health care. People just can't afford it. And what the Republicans have got to do is go into their hearts and go back into their constituents. Ask their constituents in Louisiana, where Johnson is from, do you think it's a good idea to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to people like Bezos and Musk and Zuckerberg, the richest people in this country, in order to throw people off the health care they have? I think the answer will be a resounding no. So I hope the Republicans develop a sense of morality, listen to the people of America, and do the right thing.
Back in 2018, when there was a shutdown looming over Dreamers, people who qualified under DACA, and the funding for President Trump's border wall, you had talked about a government shutdown as a serious action, a dangerous action, and you said basically you should do everything you can to prevent it.
That's right.
So is your argument tonight that fighting for extending these subsidies is worth shutting the government down?
What I'm saying, what I said then is what I believe. No sane person wants to see a government shutdown. People are going to be hurt, and that bothers me very, very much. But if we allow the Republicans to simply not negotiate and to throw 15 million people off of health care and to double premiums for 20 million people, that will cause even more harm. And by the way, on top of all of that, you have a president who today said to the military, wouldn't it be a good idea if we could start practicing military exercises by invading cities in America? Who is threatening the media. So you have a movement toward authoritarianism that we have to address as well. This, Caitlin, is a very difficult moment in the modern history of this country. I think probably as dangerous as any time since the Civil War period. And I think what the American people are saying, this is not business as usual. We've got to stand up, we've got to fight back, and create a government that works for all of us, not just Elon Musk and the billionaires.
One thing I've heard from the White House is that the budget director, Russ Vought over there, is basically ready to go if the government is shut down, canceling programs they don't like, laying off federal workers. Are you worried about that?
Of course I'm worried about it, but that's what they've been doing already. You remember when Musk was running Doge, we're going to throw out 83,000 employees who work for the Veterans Administration. And that's a very nice way to treat the men and women who are veterans of this country, who put their lives on the line to defend us. Cutting Social Security positions. They're doing it already. Trump, give you one more example. You may have seen this, I'm sure you did. I think it was yesterday. Trump says, well, if Mr. Mamdani becomes the mayor of New York City, well, you know what? I'm going to cut funding to New York City. Well, that's great. You cut funding to any city, any state that you don't like. Well, not only is that illegal, not only is that unconstitutional, it's outrageous.
As is the case more often than not, Democrats need to be looking to the leadership of Bernie Sanders in this moment. Continue to vote no, continue to fight back, and continue to call out this failure of an administration. We are going to do so on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in another way, you can click right here to subscribe to my Substack or down below. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.